Foreign Office Minister James Cleverly joining us now. Mr Cleverly, good morning to you. Let's just start with the NATO base that we heard about over the last couple of days. Reports in this morning's newspapers that up to three former military personnel have died in that explosion. Do we know anything more about that?
Well, I don't have details on the individuals that have been injured and hurt, or whether or not they're British nationals. Obviously, if there are British nationals involved, the UK Foreign Office will be there to support. We do remind people that the travel advice is that they shouldn't be going to Ukraine. We completely understand the urge to help and be supportive, but obviously we are telling people it is not safe to travel to Ukraine. But obviously, if British nationals have been hurt or killed, the government is there to support.
But the government can't confirm this morning whether or not British nationals have perished.
No, indeed, I can't speak about those details. I don't have that detail at the moment. But as I say, the UK government is there to support people if they do need our help, but we do urge people, whether they're tempted to help militarily or whether they are trying to be supportive in a humanitarian sense, our advice is that people should not be going to Ukraine, that there are other ways that they can help, and we advise them to donate to a recognised charity rather than putting themselves at risk.
OK, explosions in Kyiv again overnight. It looks as though another residential building has been hit. It looks as though the Russians are getting quite desperate. Hitting buildings like this, just to clarify, we do it every day. That's a war crime, is it?
Yes. So the targeting of civilians or civilian infrastructure is a war crime. The situation in Ukraine is terrible, and it's obvious that the Russian military are not achieving the goals that they set themselves. They're not achieving the goals that Vladimir Putin has set for them. The defence by the Ukrainians is amazing, and we continue to support, whether it be through humanitarian support, economic support, and those defensive military equipments that we have provided the Ukrainian armed forces.
To that end, a close aide to President Putin, Viktor Zolotov, says that progress is slower than expected. Surprising that someone close to Putin would actually acknowledge that. We also believe that Russia is asking for Chinese aid. That has been denied by China. What's Britain's advice to China? We've heard what the United States has said. They've warned China against getting involved.
Well, what we're saying to all countries is that they should denounce this unprovoked, illegal attack into Ukraine by Russia. They should not in any way be supporting Russia. And we urge countries to join the UK and the international community in condemning and sanctioning Russia to choke off the finances which are funding Putin's war effort. There is no justification at all for this attack, and we urge China and all countries around the world to denounce it and absolutely not to support it.
Of course, you're a Foreign Office Minister. Have we told China that? Have we told them to butt out of this war?
Well, we have made it clear to all countries around the world that they should condemn this action. We saw at the United Nations an unprecedented scale in that vote at the General Assembly against the actions that Russia have taken. We are seeing every day more countries joining the countries that are sanctioning Russian individuals, Vladimir Putin and the people around him. And what we do is we're urging everybody to make it very, very clear that they oppose this invasion, that they will take action, that they will sanction Putin and those people around him, and they will prevent him from pursuing this, as I say, this completely unjustified war against Ukraine.
And has China done that? Have they given us that guarantee?
Well, I mean, China's statements are in the public domain. We feel that countries should be really unequivocal in their opposition to what's going on. They should condemn. A lot of countries did so at the United Nations. We would like everybody to continue pushing Russia. As you said in your introduction, we're introducing now, or rather just last night, legislation was passed which enables us to apply even more sanctions on top of the ones that we've already applied. And what we want to do is have the international community speak with one voice, condemning this attack, putting real financial pressure onto Vladimir Putin so that he can no longer pursue this war of aggression against
and I do want to talk to you about oligarchs in a second, but I just want to clarify, copper bottom it. Has China guaranteed to the UK that they will not get involved in the war in Ukraine?
Well, we haven't had that statement from China, but what we are looking to do is ensure that China and indeed every other country around the world is condemning Russia's actions, absolutely not supporting Russia in its aggression against Ukraine, and indeed sanctioning Russia and putting real financial pressure on Russia. That's what we're calling on the international community to do, and that's what we will continue to push for until this war comes to a conclusion, the Russian forces leave Ukraine.
Now, there's a briefing that the Ministry of Defence puts out every morning about this time and intelligence update, as they call it. I just want to share it with our viewers, and I'm interested to hear your view on this, and particularly the second point about reports suggesting that Russia may seek to stage a referendum in Kherson in an attempt to legitimise the area as a breakaway republic, similar to Donetsk. What's your interpretation of what that means?
Well, it's quite clear that Vladimir Putin's original intention was to have a kind of a lightning war, a very fast war to capture Ukraine, take Kyiv, and install a puppet government. That is clearly not working. They are failing in those military aims. So it's now quite obvious that that Vladimir Putin and the Russian military are attempting some form of legitimacy or justification for their military actions. The UK is completely clear. Ukraine is a sovereign territory. They have a right to protect their own borders. They, a faux election to try and justify Russia's aggression to Ukraine will be recognised for exactly what it is, and that is a fake. And what we are calling upon Russia to do, what we're calling on Putin to do, is to end this war and end it immediately.
OK. Fact-finding mission continuing. There's so much to talk to you about this morning. I'll crack on. Article in the Telegraph this morning from the Prime Minister, in which he talks about solar, he talks about wind, he talks about nuclear, he talks about North Sea oil. Doesn't mention fracking. Are we giving up on fracking?
Well, we have made it absolutely clear that we need to move away from our collective addiction to hydrocarbon energy. The UK has really led the way. We saw this at COP26 in Glasgow, tail end of last year. The UK has really led the way in pushing for alternative energy production, moving away from gas, moving away from oil. The situation in Ukraine presents a unique and terrible additional emphasis to us collectively to move away from our addiction on hydrocarbons, and it's absolutely right we seek to do that because it's the right thing to do for the environment, and as we're now seeing, it denies Russia an incredibly important source of income that they rely upon to fund this war.
And in answer to my question?
Well, as I say, we have made it absolutely clear that we are looking ultimately to move away from hydrocarbons in the UK. We want long-term, economically and ecologically sustainable routes. Specific decisions on, specific means of energy generation is for the Energy Secretary. But ultimately, our direction of travel is to move away from hydrocarbons because, as I say, it's the right thing to do for the environment. It's the right thing to do economically. And in this particular situation with Ukraine, it's the right thing to do to deny Russia a means of funding its war effort.
We've got one of the heads of the fracking companies on a little bit later on, Quadrilla. They're looking at sealing their wells as early as today. Should they do it or should they wait?
Well, as I say, Kate, the individual decisions is a matter for the Energy department. But the point that I've made is that our direction of travel in the UK is to move towards an economically, ecologically, and as we're saying with regard to Russia, a more diplomatically sustainable model of energy generation, and that is ultimately.
So if you were him, would you seal the site today or not? Would you seal that well today or not if you were the head of Quadrilla?
To be honest with you, I'm focusing more with trying to bring the conflict in Ukraine to a conclusion.
Prime Minister talking about it as the lead story in the Telegraph today.
I get the importance. I get the importance of securing energy in the short term. That is an incredibly important point, and the Prime Minister will be speaking to the international community to do that.
Okay.
But ultimately, as I have said, the real important thing for us to focus on is ultimately moving away from our addiction to hydrocarbons, because that is,
just a quick thought on Saudi Arabia before I let you go.
And ecologically the right thing to do.
Just a quick thought on Saudi before I let you go. He is Prime Minister heading to Saudi Arabia later on today. They killed 81 men over the weekend. We're always told that we bring up human rights with them every time we talk to them. It's not getting us very far, is it?
Well, I used to be the Minister for Middle East and North Africa. The UK has a long-standing and principled opposition to the use of the death penalty. That is a conversation that I have had with Saudi Arabia when I was in this role. I know my colleague Amanda Milling, who's taken over that role, she will have had conversations along those lines. Our position is absolutely clear. We think it is wrong as a response to criminal behaviour. That is our long-standing principal position. We will have communicated that to Saudi Arabia, and I have no doubt we will do in response to the executions that have been recently announced. OK, but we'll still do business with them. But sadly, we are out of time, so we'll have to pick that up again next time we chat, Mr Cleverly. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.